trips. So announcements. China edition. We have a special guest here tonight to speak to us who does mission work in China. So you already had the traditional Chinese food, baked ziti.
Alright guys, this Sunday we're going to have a singing at Avondale. Meet here at 5:15. That is Eric, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, for y'all that went on last year's spring retreat?
Yes.
Last year's spring retreat, Eric, the guy who talked, that's the church where he's at. So it's going to be pretty cool to go back and see him. For those of all who weren't there and didn't get to meet him, he's pretty awesome. It's going to be cool to get to go. So if you can, I definitely recommend making it for that.
Open mic night. Do you have a talent? Do you know a poem? You want to sing a song? Can you do card tricks? The mic's open for you if you can do any of those things. Or something else. Yes. Please come and partake in this ancient CSC tradition that has been handed down from our ancestors for generations. We will take part in this on the 16th day of the 11th month, and there's a sign-up sheet coming soon.
Halloween parties. The CSC Halloween party is going to be Friday night at 7:30. Our theme will be masquerade, so just wear a mask. You can be whatever you want to be. Pretty sure Malachi's being his traditional tourist. Wear a mask. Caleb is also having a Halloween party, which I will let them talk about.
Yeah, so I'm going to have a Halloween party on Halloween. It's going to be at 7 o'clock. We're going to party at my house from 7 to 11. Party is in eat pizza and play culinary. And trick or treat, yes. Also, if you want to trick or treat, you can totally do that in my neighborhood. Go hit those people up. Also, at like 11-ish, we're going to drive to a like scary haunted house thing. It's the Haunted Barn. So if you're interested in that, we're going to go to that at 11 Saturday night. And if you're not, you can like get a ride back here. So anyway, yeah, that's what we're going to do. And there's a sign-up sheet, beautiful sign-up sheet. It's posted. And also, I'm asking everyone who comes to bring a snack or a 2-liter or something. Oh, yeah. Oh, this is mine, isn't it? Okay, Central giveaway will be Saturday, November 7th. We need brave comrades willing to volunteer and give away items that are needed. See Aaron for information. You too could be like this dragon. Doing something to this guy.
Wednesday after church, we're going to be setting up tables in the fellowship hall afterwards. If you want to stay like 5 or 10 minutes afterwards and help us get that set up, it'd be greatly appreciated.
Dominican meeting. If you're interested in going to the Dominican Republic, there'll be a mandatory sanction by the chairman Craig after Devo meeting.
Is that tonight?
Yes, that's tonight. After Devo, back there. Has capitalism failed you? Come to Melvina's meeting tomorrow at 5:30 to learn about fundraising for mission trips.
Right.
Me? Shelton?
Yeah.
Would you say a prayer for us before we get started?
Y'all, let's all go to God in prayer. Heavenly Father, thank you so much for another day you allowed us to work through. Another day to go to work, go to class, just to live our lives. God, we ask that you be with us tonight, that you come to our hearts, that you come into this worship service, that you help us to come to know you a little bit better. God, please give the speaker tonight. Help him to remember what it is he's come to tell us, to remember what it is you put on his heart. God, in everything that we do, please lead, guide, and direct. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Okay.
Okay, so you guys know I do this song really fast, but I've been told my gerbil lungs are too fast, so we're not going to be doing this one fast, okay? We're going to do it at a normal pace for the first and second verse, and the third verse is going to be slow, okay? Don't get lost. First is going to be third is slow, and then the fourth one we're going to go back to the original pace. I promise it'll make sense and it'll be fun, okay? Joyful, joyful, we adore thee, God of glory, Lord of love. Hearts unfold like flowers before thee, opening to the sun above. Melt the clouds of sin and sadness, drive the dark of doubt away. Giver of immortal gladness, fill us with the light of day. All thy works with joy surround thee, earth and heaven reflect thy rays. Stars and angels sing around thee, center of unbroken grace. Field and forest, vale and mountain, flowery meadow, flashing seas, chanting bird and flowing fountain, call us to rejoice in thee. Thou art giving and forgiving, ever blessing, ever blessed. Wellspring of the joy of living, ocean depth of happy rest. Thou art Father, Christ our brother, all who live in love are thine. Teach us how to love each other, lift us to the joy divine. Mortals join the mighty chorus, which the morning stars began. Father, love is reigning o'er us, brother, love binds man to man. And ever singing march we onward, victors in the midst of strife. Joyful music leads us sunward in the triumph song of life.
Blue skies
And rainbows and sunbeams from heaven are what I can see. When my Lord's living in me, I know that Jesus is well and alive today. He makes his home in my heart. Nevermore will I be all alone, since he promised me that we never would part. Mountains, great valleys, the beauty that surrounds
He took my burdens all away. Unto a brighter day. He gave me a song. A wonderful song. A wonderful song. A wonderful song I now can sing. In my heart joy bells ring. He gave me a song. He gave me a song. A wonderful song. A wonderful song. He gave me a song. He gave me a song to sing about. From sin and doubt. Oh, praise His name. Oh, praise His name. He is my King. He is my King. A wonderful song. A wonderful song. He is to me. He is to me. Brighter the way grows every day, walking the heavenly way. He gave me a song. He gave me a song. A wonderful song. A wonderful song. A wonderful song I now can sing. Praise to Him, my King. He gave me a song. He gave me a song. A wonderful song. A wonderful song. He gave me a song. He gave me a song to sing about. To sing about. He lifted me. He lifted me from sin and doubt. From sin and doubt. Oh, praise His name. Oh, praise His name. He is my King. He is my King. A wonderful song. A wonderful song. He is to me. He is to me. I am redeemed, no more to die, never to say goodbye. He gave me a song. He gave me a song. A wonderful song. A wonderful song. And 70 days in that fair land, sing with the chorus grand. He gave me a song. He gave me a song. A wonderful song. A wonderful song. He gave me a song. He gave me a song to sing about. To sing about. He lifted me. He lifted me from sin and doubt. From sin and doubt. Oh, praise His name. Oh, praise His name. He is my King. He is my King. A wonderful song. A wonderful song. He is to me. He is to me.
My Jesus,
my Savior, Lord, there is none like you. All of my days I want to praise the wonders of your mighty love. My comfort
mighty love, my comfort, my shelter, tower of refuge and strength. Let every breath, all that I am, never cease to worship you. Shout to the Lord, all the earth, let us sing. Power and majesty, praise to the King. Mountains bow down and the seas will roar at the sound of your name. I sing for joy at the work of your hands. Forever I'll love you, forever I'll stand. Nothing compares to the promise I have in you. On the earth let us sing. Power and majesty, praise to the King. Mountains bow down and the seas will roar at the sound of your name. I sing for joy at the work of your hands. Forever I'll love you, forever I'll stand. Nothing compares to the promise I have in you.
From the
Fount of every blessing, to my heart to sing thy praise. Streams of mercy never ceasing, call for songs of loudest praise. Teach me some melodious sonnet, sung by flaming tongues above. Praise the mountain fixed upon it, mount of thy redeeming love. Oh, to grace how great a debtor daily I'm constrained to be. Let thy grace, Lord, like a fetter, bind my wandering heart to thee. Prone to wander, Lord, I feel it. Prone to leave the God I love. Here's my heart, Lord, take and seal it for thy courts above. Here's my heart, Lord, take and seal it for thy courts above.
I am pleased to announce that we've got Ed Mosby from China Now. Is that right? China Now. He has worked with some former students that we've had in the past that have served for some time in China. Harrison Gibbs, most of you know Harrison. He has worked with this organization. Who else did you say, Ed?
Ashley was one.
Tess, yeah, she She's an older student, so I think Mel. Anybody besides Mel in the test here?
No.
Yeah. So anyway, I'm not going to take up any more of Ed's time. He's going to talk to you about what he does, the program that he works with, and so let's give our attention to Mr. Mosby.
We talk about the second coming of Jesus. Have you ever heard anybody talk about that? Maybe Sunday school class, maybe a sermon sometime about Jesus is coming back. We even sing some songs about that, about how beautiful heaven will be. So we talk about the second coming of Jesus, but half of our world never heard about the first coming. And the day and time in which we live and the technology that we have at our disposal make it possible for us to do something about that. And this opportunity for in China, maybe you've also maybe heard somebody talk about, or a song that we sing about, we have heard the Macedonian call. Maybe we don't really understand what that Macedonian was. Paul was over here, he was traveling around, he was telling people about Jesus, and he had a vision, come over and help us. And so he went from where he was into, actually from Asia into Europe, and took the story of Jesus there. And so tonight, I want to bring you a China call. Come over and help us, because the need is great, the opportunities are unlimited, and there are people who are searching for meaning and purpose in their life like none that I've seen in my travels to Russia, to Africa, to South America. I have not seen a hunger like I have seen in China in the past few years. So this is something after graduation. This isn't something you do while you're an undergraduate. This is something after you have a bachelor degree. The degree does not have to be in English. It doesn't have to be in education, but it's a bachelor degree in something. Well, I don't speak Chinese. You don't have to. They don't want you to, because there are more English speakers in China today than there are in the United States. 400 million Chinese are in school, and they're all studying English. Now, they have different levels of English ability, but, you know, they start out in grade school with maybe an hour of English classes a day. Their parents send them to English class on the weekend. By the time they get to junior high, about 2 hours a day of English. They get up into high school, it's about 3 hours a day, and in college, it's 3 to 4 hours a day of English classes that they have. So as an English teacher, when my wife and I taught there, we're not teaching them grammar or sentence structure. They can already do that. We are motivating them to open their mouth and use the English that they have already learned for the past 12 to 13, 14 years. University students are the same age as you guys are. So over the last 22 years, there have been about 750 Christians who have answered the call to come over and help in China. 90 of those are there right now this fall, working in central China in a couple of provinces, 2 different provinces, Beijing in the north, Hong Kong in the south, just kind of right in the center of the country, in about 8 different cities. And so we'll have anywhere from about 6 American Christians working in a city up to about 35. So it depends on the size of the city, how many universities there are. But we never send just 1 or 2 people off to some city by themselves. We believe in having teams and partners. And so we'd like to encourage you to be a part of that. I'm going to share something with you from the Bible in just a moment. 3 stories. It's going to be a story about 3 women. It's going to be a woman from the Old Testament, a woman from the New Testament, and a woman from Oklahoma, and the impact that she had when she went to China. But before I do that, let me just, I'll tell you a little bit more about the nuts and bolts about what Chinese schools offer and what your school year might look like, and what some of the funding that you might have to have after we talk about these 3 women. But before I talk about the women, my wife Pam believes in stories. She believes in sharing stories, and every 4 to 6 weeks, she takes some of the things that we hear from our friends who are teaching in China right now, just something that happened, one of their students said, some event that happened, and she puts it together in a little email thing and sends out. It's very short, just a paragraph or 2 that she will send. And so to send out to people who might have an interest in doing this someday, And even if they don't think they have an interest, that they would be willing to pray for those American teachers, to pray for those Chinese students, to pray for those Chinese faculty who are searching for meaning and purpose in their life. So if you would like to be on an email list, and every time she sends it out, she puts on there, if you want to unsubscribe, just hit, reply, and we'll take you off. So we're not trying to spam anybody. But we have found that there are people, after 3 or 4 years of reading some of these stories, sharing them with their friends in small groups or in people they go to church with, that they're coming up on graduation and they're looking for something to do that would make an impact. And so this is many times how people want to know more information from us as they get closer to graduation. So I'm just going to start a clipboard on each side of the room. If you would like to hear some of those stories, then please give us just a name and an email address. All right, the first story is going to come from the Old Testament book of 2 Kings. And I know everybody has, I've seen a lot of people with some phones, so I'm sure you got a Bible on there. So it's going to be 2 Kings chapter 5. And it's a story that, for some of us, it's a story that we've heard many times. And for others of us, even that it's a story that I've heard many times, when I don't actually reread the story, then sometimes I miss part of the story. And so in 2 Kings chapter 5, let me just read about the first 10 or 12 verses here. Naaman was the commander of the army of the king of Aram. He was a great man in the sight of his master and highly regarded, because through him the Lord had given victory to Aram. He was a valiant soldier, but he had leprosy. Now bands from Aram had gone out and had taken captive a young girl from Israel, and she served Naaman's wife. She said to her mistress, "If only my master would see the prophet who is in Samaria, he would cure him of his leprosy." Naaman went to his master and told him what the girl from Israel had said. "By all means go," said the king. "I will send a letter to the king of Israel." So Naaman left, taking with him all these gold and clothing and etc. He took the letter. Continue down here in verse 7. As soon as the king of Israel read the letter, he tore his robes and cried, "Am I God? Can I kill and bring back to life? Why does this fellow send someone to me to be cured of his leprosy? He's trying to pick a quarrel with me." When Elijah, the man of God, heard that the king of Israel had tore his robes, he sent him this message: "Why have you tore your robes? Have the man come to me, and he will know that there is a prophet in Israel." So Naaman went with his horses, chariots, and he came to Elijah's house. Elijah sent a messenger to him: "Go, wash yourself 7 times in the Jordan, and your flesh will be restored, and you will be cleansed." So for many years, as I heard this story and as I shared this story with other people, the emphasis that I saw in the story, or that people had passed on to me and I in turn passed on to other people, was being obedient to what God commands. Because in the next couple of verses, Naaman became angry. One, he was offended that the prophet didn't come out and meet him face to face. He just sent a messenger boy out. And then secondly, he was offended because he didn't jump up and down. He didn't wave his hands around. He didn't tell him to do, he just thought there was going to be some magic spell and then poof. And so that's the emphasis that I had seen for so many years. And I overlooked the servant girl. Go back with me to verse 2. They took a captive, a young girl from Israel. You know what that means, captive? It was a raiding party. People died. And so the plunder, the animals, the money, the gold, and slaves were brought back to serve in the other country. So here's a young girl. We don't know what happened to her family. Did she see them die? Were they out working in the field and she was taken? But she's taken away from her family. She's living in another country with new culture, new languages, perhaps even new food, and she is a servant girl in a house. But how did Naaman know to go to Samaria? The girl shared what she knew about God. Somebody had told her enough about God, the story of how God brought the Israelite nation out of Egypt, and the miracles, the mighty hand of God, how he had performed. And so she took what she knew, what limited that was, and she shared it with someone who did not know. Drop with me down to verse, after Naaman's servants convinced him to do it, and etc. Naaman said, well, the rivers here are dirty. We've got beautiful rivers back home. But after his advisors, his friends traveling with him, servants traveling with him, convinced him to do it, I want you to look at verse number 14. So he went down and dipped himself in the Jordan 7 times, as the man of God had told him, and his flesh was restored and became clean like that of a young boy. Naaman and all his attendants went back to the man of God. He stood before him and said, now I know that there is no God in all the world except in Israel. There are people in our world today that don't know about a creator God. They've heard of gods, but they don't know if they believe in gods or a God. And so unless someone comes and shares the story about a creator, about a savior with them, perhaps they will never hear, or at least have an opportunity to hear and to make a decision to follow Christ. So the girl we don't know what she knew, but she knew enough to share it with someone else. Fast forward to the book of John in the New Testament. In John chapter 4, again, it's probably a story that we're very familiar with, where Jesus encounters a woman at the middle of the daytime, and he sits down, and the woman comes to draw water. We call it the Samaritan woman, the woman at the well. And so this was midday. They were traveling through Samaria. And I'm not sure what you know about your geography of that area, but you have the Mediterranean Sea on the west. You have the Jordan River on the east, the Dead Sea kind of at the bottom of the Jordan River, the Sea of Galilee at the top. And so on the between the Mediterranean and the Jordan, you have 3 different districts. You have Judea, Samaria, and Galilee. And so as people would travel from Judea to Galilee, Galilee to Judea, most of them did not want to set foot in Samaria. They would actually cross the river, cross the Jordan River, and go up on the eastern shore, and then cross the river again, just so they didn't have to go through Samaria. The Samaritans were considered, or kind of like how people might treat a dog, not very good sometimes. They were Jews, but they were half Jewish. And so they didn't go in the same house together. They didn't sit at the table and break bread together. And it was very unusual for in this encounter where Jesus speaks to the woman. The woman is very surprised. Why are you speaking to me? You're a man. I'm a woman. I'm a Samaritan. You are a Jew, an Israelite. And so they talk about water. The woman came for physical water in the middle of the day by herself. Where were the other women? They had either come early that morning, or they would wait and come late that evening, or maybe come both times. But she came in the middle of the day. Why, we don't know. We can speculate maybe it's because of the number of times that she had been married, and maybe some of the people, how they might view that. We don't know all the situation with her marriages or the man that she was currently living with. But they start talking about water, and Jesus said, physical water, spiritual water. And then they start talking about the Messiah. This woman, this Samaritan woman, we know that the Messiah will come. And I think back to the early chapters of John in chapter 1, where John the Baptist is there and Jesus comes to be baptized. And the next day, John says, behold, the Lamb of God who takes away the sins of the world. Andrew went and spent the day with Jesus. And then at the end of that day, Andrew came back and he went and found his brother Simon Peter. And he says, come, we have found the Messiah. They had been looking for him for hundreds of years. They had been anticipating the coming of the Messiah. This Samaritan woman had as well. And so she got excited. She left her water jug there. She went back into her village and told the people, come, meet a man who told me all about my life. And they came, and they met him. And many put their faith in him. Let me read from John 4, and let me read Oh, I'm sorry. Here it is in verse 39. Many of the Samaritans from that town believed in him because of the woman's testimony. So when the Samaritans came to him, they urged him to stay, and he stayed 2 days. And because of his words, many more became believers. Verse 42 was the verse that I really wanted to center in on here. They said to the woman, "We no longer believe just because of what you said. Now we have heard for ourselves, and we know that this man really is the Savior of the world." One of the first missionaries in the pages of the New Testament was a woman, a Samaritan woman. She told someone else what she knew about the Messiah. Come, and could he be the one? And many people believe because of him. So we have many opportunities that are here. We have in the summer, if you join this LST team to Dominican Republic, is that right? To the DR?
We have a team going to Dominican Republic and an LST team. So.
Okay, so two different things going on. So whether you're part of something like that in the summertime, but we're asking you to prayerfully consider after graduation, after you have that degree, to come to China for 10 months. The third story is about a woman from Oklahoma named Katie. Katie graduated from Oklahoma Christian University back, I'm thinking about 2008 or so, maybe 2008, 2009. And Katie went to China with 2 of her friends that she went to school with. And they went to a city and joined some other teachers who had been there for 2 or 3 years. And so this is a story that a Chinese person is going to tell you about her journey to faith. And she will reference an English teacher named Katie. So if that will play.
Most Chinese people are atheists, and so was I. I started to know about God around the age of 9 through my mother. Even though I knew about God, I didn't know about Him. My mother had told me about God, and she even asked me to pray with her. When we prayed together, I didn't know what I was doing or why. It was not something that I made a part of my life, because I was doing it for her, and my faith never developed. All through middle school and high school, I was taught that there was no God. My fellow classmates and I simply accepted Marxism and the idea that evolution explained where we come from, and that there was no need for a creator. When I began attending college, I knew there was something more than I could see with my eyes. I began thinking and searching for meaning in my life. My sophomore year, I was working on campus and met an American teacher named Katie. Being an English major, I wanted to practice my English, so I approached her. I asked her typical beginner questions like, "What's your name?" and "Where are you from?" That quick exchange began a deeper relationship that would eventually bring me from darkness to light. As our relationship grew, I began to see things in Katie's life that were different from other people that I knew. She would do me favors without expecting anything in return. And when we would eat together, she would pray and thank God for His blessings. These things had a tremendous impact on me. I began to think that Katie might be able to help me with my search for meaning in my life. She gave me many books to read that helped bring me to a better understanding of God, like The Taste for Christ and Mere Christianity. And those Bible studies, I was able to meet some Chinese Christians. I could see that Christ had impacted their lives in a way nothing else could, and I wanted that. In March of 2010, I was baptized and began my life as a new creation. Sometimes I think about my life and where I would be if I didn't know Jesus. I look around and see so many people chasing after things that won't matter in the end. They look at their lives and think everything's okay, but the truth is, it isn't. Most of them have never heard about Jesus, and they don't realize they're lost. I feel that we shouldn't be deprived of that right. God said that we should love others as He has loved us. I want to tell others about the love of Christ. but sometimes I feel overwhelmed as we teach our relation of the non-believers in China. Even though it is a difficult task, I know that if God is for us, then no one can stand against us.
Look at the nations and watch and be amazed. I'm going to do something in your day you wouldn't believe, even if you were told. The Lord spoke to Habakkuk centuries ago. In our day and time, a government, a communist government, is paying Christians to come, providing a place for us to live. They furnish the apartment. They pay the utilities for us. They give us a monthly salary. The salary is the equivalent of about $750 to $800 American dollars. We don't pay rent. We don't pay utilities. So out of our salary, we pay for our food, our transportation, and our phone. Most teachers live on about half of what they make. We had a daughter, our youngest daughter was in China last year, and she saved 2/3 of her monthly salary and lived on 1/3. She lived in China 5 years as a teenager and then came back and graduated college and worked for a couple of years, and she went back to China last year. So you can live on even less than half of what you make each month. You teach 14 to 16 classes a week. Classes are about 45 minutes in length. And a typical semester will run 18 to 20 weeks in the fall, 18 to 20 weeks in the spring. Typically, the last 2 weeks there are no English classes because they're studying for final exams and other topics. So typically, as an English teacher, we teach between 16 and 18 weeks each semester. It's a 10-month teaching contract. It can be renewed if you want to renew it, but it's a 10-month commitment. But during that 10 months that you're there, you have 7 to 8 weeks of paid holiday. They just had a week off they had 8 days off the 1st of October for their national day. Kind of like our 4th of July. They had a week off. And then in January, February, between the fall and spring semesters, they celebrate Chinese New Year, or they call it Spring Festival or Winter Festival. And that's where everybody's traveling in China, going home for the holidays to be with the family. And so, again, we have 6 to 7 weeks free at that time. Some of the teachers are brave and will go to North China where it's extremely cold, and where they have ice carvings outdoors. But other teachers will venture around a few cities in central China, maybe visit some students for a week over here. But then some will even migrate and travel to some other nearby countries, Vietnam, Cambodia, Laos, and Thailand. 2 years ago, we had a group of 6 teachers that traveled to Thailand. They rented a house on a small island. They paid $400 American for the house for the month, divided in 6 ways. $65 for a month on an island, paradise. There were no cars or motorcycles on the island. They took the ferry in the morning to do what they wanted to, and they took the ferry back. And it's that part of the world they don't have winter there. It's very, very, and Asia, I don't know how much history major, right? History is all major religions of our world can be found in China, but all major religions of our world that we have today all have their origins in Asia. Some in Western Asia, Judaism and Christianity, but some in Southeast Asia. And so after you teach for the university for 2 semesters, they reimburse your round-trip airfare. Look at the nations and watch. God has a communist government making it possible for his people to tell people who know about Jesus and know about his son to those people who have not heard. We're going to stick around for a little while afterwards and be glad to answer any questions. We do have an information sheet here that we'll be happy to share with you, and would even encourage you to ask me for 2, one for you and one for a friend, somebody who's not here tonight, somebody that you can say, I'm thinking about doing this. Would you consider coming and going with me? If you're going to travel halfway around the world, why not take a friend with you, somebody that you enjoy spending time with? But the one final thought, Craig, that I'm going to leave you with, you didn't tell me what time, so I'm going to get down before y'all finish up however you need to. But one final thought I share with you. Have you ever heard anybody talk about the gospel being good news? The gospel, what is the gospel? The death, the burial, the resurrection of Jesus. The gospel being good news. And I truly believe that it is. But I also know that it's only good news if it gets there in time. We need your help. Hear the China call, please.
He said, let's all stand up and circle up and do a circle song, and then Clark is closing us out with prayer.
Everyone hit those lights. We're gonna sing and be happy. If the skies
above you are gray, you are feeling so blue. If your cares and burdens seem great all the whole day through, there's a silver lining that shines in the heavenly land. Look by faith and see it, my friend. Trust in His promises grand. Sing and be happy, press along through the gold. Trust in Him who leads you. He will keep your soul. Let the world know where you be faithful. Look to Him and pray. Lift your voice and praise Him in song. Sing and be happy today. We fail to see the rainbow up in heaven's fair sky. When it seems the fortunes of earth crown and pass us by, there are things we know that are worth more than silver and gold. If we hope and trust Him each day, we shall have pleasures untold. Sing and be happy, press on to the goal. Trust in Him who leads you. He will keep your soul. Let the world know where you be faithful. Look to Him and pray. Lift your voice and praise Him in song. Sing and be happy today.
Please have me. Lord, thank you for the day you've blessed to have. Thank you for allowing us to be yours and for you being ours. Thank you for the nation we're able to live in, but most importantly, Lord, for the time we're able to live in, a time where here where we live, we're not persecuted too heavily, and we're able to go out and teach people about Jesus for the first time. Lord, we thank you so much for all the lessons in our lives, when we never forget all those other people that we're supposed to bring Jesus to. And may we always remember you in each and every day of our lives. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
right now. Run to him, Clark. Hey, Clark. Yeah. You said you wanted to do it.